Alright, hey guys. So it is about 4 o'clock on Wednesday, February 1st, and I just wanted to take a little bit to just reiterate what we did in class today. I know that I had to go pretty quickly, and I know some of you may not have gotten everything we wrote down, or if you were absent or in enrichment, you may not have gotten these notes at all. So I wanted to go through and make sure we got everybody on the same page, since we will not be able to go over tax and tip much tomorrow. We are going to be moving on to another topic. So I want to make sure that we get everyone on the same page, and if you had any confusions or anything, you can refer to this video if you need any extra help. So with that said, let's just go ahead and jump in. So today we were looking at sales tax. That was the first thing we looked at. And one of the things that we talked about was that we pay taxes on a lot of stuff. We pay taxes on many things. Okay? We pay taxes on many things. Some of those include clothes, groceries, meals, and books. But we're definitely not limited to just paying taxes on those things. Pretty much anything you purchase in addition to those 4 examples, pretty much anything you purchase will have a sales tax added to the price. Okay, so if you go to the store, you buy a shirt, whatever the cost of the shirt is, say it's a $20 shirt, it's not just $20. You're going to have to add a tax to it. Okay? So there are different amounts of sales taxes. There are different amounts of sales taxes. And whenever we see a sales tax, they're all written as percentages. Okay, so for example, we might have 8%, 9.25%, 8.5%, 7.5%, 4%. Really, there's a big variation in sales taxes. And like I said, these are going to vary from state to state. Okay? And I Googled the Alabama state sales tax. So the Alabama sales tax rate is actually 4%. Now what I don't know is that like a minimum, and stores can increase that sales tax? Because I know most places I go, they've got like a 9% tax. I think Homewood has a 10% sales tax, so it's going to depend on where you are, and I don't know as much about that as I should, but that's what came up when I Googled it. So, all right, so let's jump into an example. So this question is asking, what is the tax on a $20 item with a 4% tax rate? Okay, what is the tax on a $20 item with a 4% tax rate? Okay, so there's going to be a few steps that we need to do to solve this problem. So first, we want to change that percent to a decimal. Okay, so I've got 4% that I want to change to a decimal. So we know to go from percent to decimal, we would take the decimal point and we move it over 2 places to the left, which will give us 0.04. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is multiply the tax rate times the total. Or really our original price. So I'm going to multiply the tax rate times the total. So my tax rate is 4% or 0.04. And I'm going to multiply that times 20 because that was my initial cost of my item. Okay, so once I do that, that'll tell me what the tax is. And if we multiply that out in our calculator, we would do 0.04 times 20, and that would give us 0.8, and we know that's 80 cents, which we can write two different ways. Okay? So the question was asking what is the tax, and so we just found it. It's 80 cents, but usually you're going to have to find out the total of your item after you add the tax to it. So our last step is going to be to find the total after tax is added. So we're going to take our initial cost plus our tax here, and we're going to add them together. So I'm going to take $20 plus 80 cents, and that's going to give me $20.80. Pretty easy. Okay, so to solve this tax problem, or to figure out what our total cost would be, we've got to change the percent to a decimal, multiply that decimal times the total, find the tax, and then add that to our original price. Okay, and that's really all you do, so it's pretty simple. Let's go ahead and do another example. Alright, so in this example, let's say we have we're going to buy a $500 TV with a 9.25% tax. Okay, so our first step, if you remember, we're going to change the percent to a decimal. So I've got 9.25%, and that's going to be equal to 0.0925 because we moved the decimal over 2 places. Okay, and then we need to take our tax rate, or our decimal, and we need to multiply it by our cost of our item, which is $500. And when we multiply that, that's going to tell me what the tax is. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to take 0.0925 times 500, and that's going to give me, remember we're in dollars, so it'll give me $46.25. Okay, so that's what the tax is, but now I need to find my total. So my last step is going to be to take my original cost, add the tax, and that will give me my final total, which is going to be $546.25. Okay? So let's look at another one. Let's say we have another $500 purchase with a 7% tax, because remember, we can have different tax rates depending on the state we're in and what store we're at even. Okay? So the process is going to be exactly the same. We're going to change the percent to a decimal. So 7%, we're going to write that as 0.07. Then we are going to multiply the decimal times our price, which was 500. And that will give me my tax, which if I multiply that out, I have 0.07 times 500, which would give me $35. So that's my tax. Okay? And then the last step, I need to add my tax to my original price. So I'm going to add $500 plus $35, and we know that'll give me $535. Okay, so it's the same process, but we can do it with whatever percent tax we have. Okay, let's look at another example. That's going to be the main purpose of this video, is giving you more examples than I was able to give in class, because I think I was able to give 2 or 3 examples per class, and I'd really like to give you more in case you're still a little bit shaky on it. Okay, so if you need more examples, just keep watching. Otherwise, you can skip ahead, and the next thing you'll see will be this sheet that says tip. Okay, so if you see this, that's where you should skip to. If you don't need any more tax examples, skip ahead to this. But otherwise, we're going to do several more examples. Okay? Alright, so let's say we've got a item that is $52.50, and this one's going to have an 8.5% tax on it. Alright, so same process. Change the percent to a decimal. Multiply the decimal times our original price. Okay, that'll give me my tax, which when you multiply that out, it will be, and remember, when we are finding these numbers, we're always going to round to the hundredths place. So when you multiply it out, you end up getting 4.4625, but I don't need to write the whole thing because we're talking about money. So if I round to the hundredths, I'm going to end up with $4.46. So that's my tax. So now the last step is going to be to take my original price, add my tax to it. So I'm going to have $52.50 plus $4.46, and that's going to give me a grand total of $56.96. Okay, so again, we've got the same process going, just lots of different examples. Okay, let's do some more. All right, now let's say we've got an item that is $12.50, and now let's have a 9% tax rate. Okay, going to solve it the same way. We're going to change our percent to a decimal, multiply the decimal times our original price, that'll give me our tax, which is going to be $1.13. And then we need to add our tax to our original price, so I'm going to take $12.50, add $1.13, and I'll get $13.63. Okay, let's do a couple more and then we'll move on to tip. Alright, this example we've got $15.99 with a 7.5% tax. Okay, by this point you're probably getting sick of me repeating myself, but it's the same process. Turn the percent to a decimal. Hey, sorry guys, we had someone come in my room while I was recording, so I had to pause it for a minute. So if you saw the screen jumping around and noise going on, that's what it was. Okay, so getting back to this example, I think I was saying you're probably getting tired of me repeating myself over and over again, but hopefully that will help you really get the steps down so you know what to do each time. Okay, so we changed the percent to a decimal, and then we need to multiply our decimal times our original price. Okay, and then that answer will be the tax that we're adding on to it, which when I multiplied it out, after I rounded to the nearest hundredth, I got $1.20. And I'll go ahead and show you guys just in case there's any confusion there. 0.075 times 15.99 will give you 1.9925. So if I need to round to the hundredths place, I look to the right, and whoops, that 9 will tell the other 9 to round up, and it would make it $1.20. Okay, so now I've got my tax. So now I need to add my tax to my original price. So I'm going to take $15.99 plus $1.20. And when I add those together, I'm going to get $17.19 as my total. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do one more example for finding tax, and then we'll move on to tip. All right. So with this one, we've got an item that is $57.95, and this is going to have an 8% tax. All right. So, per usual, need to change my percent to a decimal. Then I need to multiply my decimal times my original price. Okay. And my answer will give me the amount of tax that I'm adding. And when I multiplied that out, after I rounded, I got $4.64. And then our last step is to add our original price and the tax together. Okay, and when we do that, our grand total is going to be $62.59. All right, so at this point, if you have kept watching, you should be feeling pretty good on finding the tax and finding your total on an item. So obviously, if you need to, you can go back to the beginning and watch those examples over again. Okay? All right. Okay, so whether you have been watching the whole time or you just skipped ahead, we are going to get into talking about tip. All right, so you guys probably know that at most restaurants where you have a waiter or a server, you are going to pay a tip. Okay, so your places like Applebee's or pretty much any Mexican place, those places where I kind of call a sit-down restaurant, you are going to be paying a tip. If you have a waiter, you're probably going to pay a tip. Okay? And the tip is usually about 15% of your total. Usually about 15 or 20%, but it could be more if you had really great service. So it's pretty standard to pay about 15 to 20% for your tip, but like I said, you could pay more if you have really great service. Okay, so one thing that's really important to remember is that you don't tax on the tip and you don't tip on the tax. And that'll make more sense when we get into an example. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So your directions for this example say to find the tax and the tip, then find the total. Okay, so you're going to find the tax and tip and then find the total. So let's say you've gone out to eat with your parents or your grandparents and you each got a meal. And let's say that one was $18, one was $14, and one was $6.50. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is just add these together as they are. So this was the cost of each meal before tax and before tip. So we're going to add those together. So we're going to add $8 plus $14 plus $6.50. And when we add all those together, we should get $28.50. Now this is what we call our subtotal. So this is our total before we add in the tax and the tip. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would find the tax. So we just learned how to find the tax. And the tax rate at this particular restaurant is 7.5%. Okay, so we have looked at the steps on how to do this. So just to shorten it up, we know we're going to change this percent to a decimal, which is going to be 0.075. And we need to multiply that times our subtotal, which was $28.50. Okay, so once we do that, our tax is going to be $2.14. If you were to put it in your calculator, you would get $2.14. Okay, so that's our tax. So now we need to find our tip. So when I say don't tax on the tip and don't tip on the tax, what I mean is, so now that we found our tax, if I were to add it to my subtotal, I would have $28.50 plus $2.14, which would give me $30.64. Now, if we didn't pay a tip, that would be my total. But we need to pay a tip because we have a waiter. Now, when it says to don't tax on the tip and don't tip on the tax, that means when I calculate my tip, I need to calculate it from my subtotal, not my total after I've added the tax to it. So when I go back to find the tip, I need to go back to this $28.50 here. And this is where I can calculate my tip, not from this total over here, which is the subtotal plus the tax. That's something that I didn't know until recently. What I've been doing is I've been seeing my subtotal plus my tax, which would be $30.64, and I use this amount to find my tip, but that's actually not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look at your subtotal and calculate your tip from that number. Okay? So to calculate our tip, it's actually going to be the same process. Let's say we're going to leave a 15% tip. So we need to change the percent to a decimal, which would be 0.15. And now we need to multiply it by our subtotal. Not our subtotal plus our tax, just our subtotal. So we're going to multiply it by $28.50. And once we multiply that out, we should get $4.28. Now, if I had found the tip based on my subtotal and my tax, I would have done $30.64 times 15%, and my tip would have been like $4.60. So it's not that much more, but over time, if you go out to eat a lot and you are tipping a lot, that's going to add up. So instead of tipping $4.60, I'm only going to tip $4.28, and that sounds a little bit better to me. Okay? So then the last step is similar to what we did before. We're going to take our subtotal, which was $28.50, and if it helps to kind of label these at the bottom to keep track, you can do that. So I'll take my subtotal, then I'm going to add my tax, and then I'm going to add my tip. Okay, and when I add all of those together, I'm going to get $34.92. So this is my grand total after I have added my tax and my tip. So I started at $28.50, and after tax and tip, I ended up at $34.92. Okay? So it's really not that bad. You've just got to remember to add all of them together. And remember, when you calculate your tip, you calculate it from your subtotal. Or if you found the tip first and then you want to find the tax, you don't find your tax based on your subtotal plus your tip. You go back just to your subtotal. That's what that means when it says don't tax on the tip and don't tip on the tax. Okay? Go back to the original. All right, so we're going to look at two more examples on tip. All right, so let's look at this first one. I'm going to go ahead and just give you the subtotal. So I've got a $62 subtotal, and this particular restaurant has a 7% tax, and let's say you're going to leave a 20% tip. Okay? So I've already got my subtotal, so I don't have to add any amounts together. I've got my subtotal, so I'm going to just jump into finding my tax. Okay? So my tax is 7%. If I change it to a decimal, I would get 0.07. And if I multiply that times my subtotal, which is 62, then I'm going to get $4.34. Okay, that's my tax. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my tip. I'm going to change 20% to a decimal, which would be 0.2 or 0.20. And then I'm going to multiply that times my subtotal of $62. And when I do that, I'm going to get $12.40. That's a pretty good tip. I would be pretty happy with that. All right, so like last time, we're going to add together our subtotal plus our tax and our tip. Okay, and when we add all that together, our bill would come out to $78.74. Okay, same process as last time. Find the subtotal or use the one it gives you. Calculate the tax, calculate the tip from your subtotal, and then add all of those together. All right, let's look at one more example. So for this one, they're telling you that your total is $25 including tax. So you've already found out, or they've already found out for you, that your total including tax is going to be $25. Okay, so now we just have to figure out the tip. Okay, so it's going to work the same way as before. I'm going to take, and I'm going to have a 20% tip here. So I've got to calculate the tip. All right, so if I've got a 20% tip, and I'm going to multiply that by the total that they gave me, that's going to equal $5. And then if I add those together, I'll take my $25 total plus my $5 tip, and that's going to give me $30. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and be honest and tell you that, oh, there go my lights. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that looking at this example now, I feel like I've kind of contradicted myself because I told you not to tax on the tip and not to tip on the tax. But in this example, I have a $25 total that includes tax, and I'm going to add a 20% tip. So I just tipped on the tax, and I don't want to do that. So I'm thinking that I'm probably just going to throw this example out because I think what you would have to do is find your total before tax and then find your tip based on that, like find your subtotal. But it doesn't tell me what percent tax I had, so I can't do that. So we're just going to leave it for now. You've still got to practice calculating the tip, even if it was from the tax, which you weren't supposed to do. But it's okay. We'll just make sure when it comes time for the quiz or the test that you are clear on what you're expected to do. So, all right, and we didn't have a lot of time for classwork today, but your homework is going to be in your homework packet. You're going to flip to this Valentine maze right here. And basically what you're going to do, you're going to start down here, and it's going to give you something that you're going to be purchasing. So here we've got a heart-shaped photo frame for $32.25. And then it tells me that on all these items I'm going to pay an 8.5% tax. So what I'll do is I'll take my $32.25 frame. I'm going to multiply that times 0.085. I changed it to a decimal. And that will give me, we'll just say about 274. You're going to round to the hundreds. So 274 is my tax. So now I need to add that to my total, which was $32.25, and I would get $34.99. So then you look here, and you see, well, which one of those is my total? And I have $34.99 right here. So I'm going to shade that in, and I'm going to go to this one next. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to calculate the tax, add it to the subtotal. Whichever one of these is my total, I shade it in, I go to the next one. Okay? So that's what you're going to be doing for homework tonight. Should be pretty easy. There's no tip on this sheet, so this is just going to be tax. But you know, they're calculated the same way, so if you can do one, you should be able to do the other. So yeah, make sure you work through this. Make sure you study for your percent of change quiz that will be tomorrow, February 2nd. And again, email me if you have any questions. Good luck, you guys.